All right. So, as a lot of experienced operators age out in the water industry, what happens to their accumulated institutional knowledge? Does it just walk out the door when they retire, never to be uh, lost forever? So, our guest today is really going to talk about a solution to that problem. So, hello, everyone. I'm Tom Ballard, the Groundwater Guy, and welcome to Groundwater Talk Live for February 10th, 2022. Before we get going here, let me see if anybody has any comments or drop a comment in the chat. Tell us you're watching, or if you got any questions as we go along, please feel free to just drop those in the chat, whether you're watching on LinkedIn or whether you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching this on replay, just feel free to drop chats there. I try to respond to those on a regular basis too. So we got Steve Stieg here. So hey, Steve, good morning. Thanks for attending. And let's kind of move on here. So, our guest today is Joseph Blackman with Vitendo Training Solutions. And I think I got that right. He'll correct me if I'm wrong, but usually if there's two ways to pronounce something, I will I'll pronounce it wrong. So anyway, so Joseph, let me bring him on here, and we can chat. Good morning.
Good
Okay,
morning. Good morning.
we got, we got sound here. You're a little bit delayed there, but that's okay. We'll pick it up here. So thanks for coming on this morning, taking time to be with us, and we're kind of besides the Vitendo training solutions. And did I get that right, or is it? Okay. Um,
You
besides that,
you got
he
it right.
does.
Vitendo
Oh,
Training Solutions.
okay. Besides that, he does the Public Works podcast also, and I was a guest on his show. So we're kind of doing a mutual um, guest appearance, and so I really appreciate Joseph coming on. We got in touch through the National Rural Water Association website and community, and it's been an interesting conversation. We've got some common interests, but I was really interested what Joseph had to say because he offers some solutions up, and we've talked about it before on this show here where we get there's we're seeing that what we call the silver wave, where people are retiring and young people are coming in, and as those people walk out the door, that institutional knowledge is gone. I can tell you, I got one client. If they have a well, they have no well log for it, and they just kind of run it. And the guy that operated it knew everything about that well. Retired, he moved away. He's not accessible to them anymore, and they have no idea what is going on with this well at all. They're just kind of making it up as they go. So I know that Vitendo, you offer some solutions for that, and so let's dive in a little bit, and maybe you can just give us a little bit of your background and your education and your experience and with public works, and then we can talk about your actual solutions here.
Okay. Well, I'll take you back about 4 years ago when I first got into the industry. So I got into the industry on the dark side, meaning selling to public works agencies. And I used to sell a piece of equipment called a Vector. It's a combination truck. It's for collection departments. It does your flushing and all that hydro excavating. And when I got with the company, I was taking over for a guy and he was going to retire. So I did a year long apprenticeship with him, meaning I had to ride with him for a whole year. And I think he was around 67, 68 years old. So he was getting up there and it was time for him to get out of the industry and kind of move on to the greener pastures in life. But what was so interesting was that just being around him, and I mean, I learned so much from the guy. I mean, just through osmosis, just from what he was doing and how he was operating, just how he was talking about the piece of equipment and his passion for the pieces of equipment we're around, the passions for the applications, just like flushing and being out there on the yard with the guys and getting dirty, getting sprayed by poop, all that stuff. And it rubbed off on me. And one thing I started to notice was all the guys that knew everything in the industry or who I wanted to learn from, they were retiring in the next 2 or 3 years. They were literally going to be out of the door and gone. And when I started to look around the office, I'm thinking, shoot, none of these guys have the same intel of what my my Obi-Wan Kenobi had, the guy who was training me. And so it kind of hit me. I said, there's got to be a better way to extract the knowledge. You call it the silver wave. There's got to be a better way to extract the knowledge from these guys before they leave us and then leave us. I mean, I'm a millennial, but leaving us with just only millennials and Gen Zers. And so I would say once I got kind of on my feet and he exited, um, there was an instance where I sold a city a truck, right? Yeah, when you sell it, you deliver it to them, you bring out the donuts, it's all shiny. You do you got the suits out there, they're taking pictures in front of the truck for the city website and all that. And I trained the guys that day. And then 2 weeks later, the guy called me back and says, "Hey, you know, what's his name and what's his name wasn't there for the training day. Can you come back out and do some more training?" I said, "Okay, I'm a sales guy, so of course I got to get back out there and train him because I want to sell him another one." And so I do another training, and then 3 weeks later, they say, "Hey, so we want to know how this thing works on this truck." And I thought to myself, like, "Well, I trained you guys on that the first 2 times I was out there." So it hit me. So I went out to the back in my yard where we had our trucks at the same type of trucks, and I started to shoot selfie videos of like, "Hey, here's how you operate X, Y, and Z. Here's how you operate ABC on the truck." And I would send them the video, and it was interesting. They liked the videos because A, I didn't have to come out, and B, they can have that video moving forward in the future. And that sparked the idea for Vitendo is that let me come out, shoot a ton of video on your best practices, and then now your new guys, whether millennial Gen Zers or just somebody you hire that's new, they can watch those videos on how to best practice your pieces of equipment and your plant or your utilities around the city. And so that's where this thing spurred from. And I'm having a blast doing it.
All right. Well, that's good. So you cover. I mean, obviously, we're focused on the water industry here. I'm the groundwater guy, and we're Groundwater Talk Live. But you focus on public works in general, right? And that's really an area where we've seen, the silver wave, as we call it. But I know, especially in waterworks, it's been quite challenging. So not only just documenting the process so you don't have to keep coming out, but picking the brain of the people there with what I call the institutional knowledge, and so that's you do kind of both, documenting the processes and then capturing what I'd call it the old timers. I'm an old timer, so have in their mind, so.
Yeah, I think it kind of, I mean, any type of heavy equipment or technical knowledge, it makes sense for. I just like focusing on public works because that's what I know. Um, there was I remember there was a couple lift stations in the city of not Moraga, city of Morgan Hill, and everybody said they had their own personality. I'm thinking, how can a lift station have its own personality? Like, it's a lift station, it's a pump, it's got it's got liquids in it, and you pump it up and it goes down. But they said no, you have to like treat the pumps with TLC, and you have to learn how to rate the pumps and all that. And I said, huh, that's another idea. So if there's a pump that you don't know how to service, troubleshoot, operate, that's what also can go on your Vitendo. Like, best practices for it doesn't have to just be from a guy's brain. It could be a piece of equipment or a piece of utility around the city. um yeah. Am I really familiar with groundwater? No, but I would say I am familiar with getting information out of guys' heads. So the new guy who takes your place, he'll know exactly what to do in that given situation.
Yeah, and that's really, you don't have to know. I mean, you have to know the basics, but the guys you're interviewing, those are the guys that know, and that's what you got to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost like a historian in a way. Is you're pulling that information out of their head and getting it down on video. We used to put it down on
Sure.
paper. Now we put it down on video. But and that's good. It's easier to follow on video. So how
Oh.
does when you go out and you do this, how does the workflow typically work for people?
Okay. Well, we start off, we sit down because I always like to plan before we shoot. I mean, even back in the day when I got out of college, I was shooting a ton of video for the church. Like, hey, we got to plan this out before we shoot it because if we just start shooting, we're gonna waste a lot of time in trying to put the pieces together. So we'll sit down and we'll have this long Excel doc. It's digitized now. Paper works too, but it's digital now. And we'll list out what exactly you want to get shot or like what assets you want in your video library. So we'll get all those down and then we'll plan a day to shoot. So we'll go out, I'll get you mic'd up. I got the camera, I got the lights if we need it. We'll shoot 15, 20, 30 videos a day. And granted, these aren't like, the Dark Knight movies. These aren't 2.5 hours long. These may be, as long as 2.5 minutes. I mean, they're quick videos to where somebody can watch it and get right back to work. So again, we're shooting a ton of videos a day. I take all those videos and I upload in this cool little app. And in this app, I always say you can find whatever asset you need in 3 clicks or less. So you can search for, like, let's say, operations of wet well ABC, and then boom, you can find exactly what videos you need for that. So yeah, we go and shoot all the videos. I take all the videos, put them in this cool little app, and then you can find exactly what you need, whether it's on your phone, iPad, or even on your computer.
And bite-sized chunks of information. So, which is really the best way for my experience with, especially people in the water industry is they're busy guys, and they're
Yeah.
not going to sit down and watch or it's hard to get them to sit down and watch an hour-long training video,
Yeah,
and that's
our
going to be
attention
boring
spans
anyway.
are
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter by the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I don't even know if it's attention spans, but it's just, these guys, I get them on some training sometimes and I do online training for a lot of these guys and they're, they're getting phone calls and they got,
True.
their SCADA system's malfunctioning or this
Yep.
valve is stuck or, and it's just kind of like, when I did in-person trainings back in the pre-COVID days, we'd have guys that, having to run out of the room and deal with emergencies and so it's really bite-sized chunks of information is really the way to go,
Yeah.
so I think that's great, and so what do you generally? I mean, when you go out and you document things, how do you? You've talked a little bit about the workflow, but in a 2.5 minute video, what's really the objective there? That you're documenting a very specific process, and you break it down, you break it out by specific process, and keep it nice and short and sweet.
Well, that goes back into the preparation. Like we wouldn't shoot a video on, how to better operate a treatment plant because I mean, that's way too wide. We would shoot a video on how to troubleshoot XYZ pump on ABC, water line or whatever. So we keep it real micro. We're looking at the macro, but we keep it real micro. Um, and that video would only be 2 minutes long because it's really just one guy saying, here's how you turn it on, here's what here's what flow it should be at, here's what psi it should be at, and boom, you're done. I mean, that could be 30 seconds and the guy isn't droning on, he isn't telling stories. It's just this is what it is, this is what it should be. So yeah, you just like Steven says, just one bite at a time. Small chunks, like you said. Like I always like to say that if you've ever been on YouTube to watch a video on how to like take a battery out of your truck or to fix your microwave or to service your or to clean your grill. Like those videos are 15 minutes long, but really do they have to be? It's usually the guy, he just likes hearing himself talk and he's just talking and talking and talking. It's like, dude, just get to the meat of it. Just get to the point. And these videos, they're strictly to the point. We don't want to hear your war stories and all that. It's just show us what to do so either the millennial or the Gen Zer can watch it and get on with this job.
Yeah. Although sometimes the war stories are good, but you can record those separate for them.
Sure.
So, yeah, Steve's dropping some comments here. So, yeah, when they get too long, and that is a challenge, especially with some of the trainings I'll do. I mean, we need contact hours, and it needs to be an hour long, for instance. But how do
Yeah.
you break it down into chunks so that people can get that? And it's that can be really challenging because sitting down for an hour on anything, and like you say, I watch a lot of YouTube videos on different stuff and yeah, get to the point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So so what successes have you had? I know you're kind of getting this thing off the ground here, is my understanding, and I do have I'll bring up your website here in just a little bit, or I can bring it up right now and you can kind of go through it with us if you want to do that, or if you can
Well,
just kind of lead into that.
yeah. So one success or one success I've had so far is there's a guy I know in Arizona where I'm based out of. He sells water trucks, right? And
Hmm.
I mean, you know what a water truck is? It's a truck that has water. It's got a small pump on it. I wouldn't say small pump, but it's low psi, heavy gallons per minute. Um, and he would sell these to like the Indian reservations. And some of these guys, I mean, as fire trucks, and some of these guys don't know anything about it. So he would always have to hop on the phone to tell them, like after he delivers a truck, he would have to hop on the phone and tell them how to operate it. So I said, let's shoot 10, 15 videos on how to operate it. And when you deliver the truck, you send them this link, and now they can watch these videos on how to operate the truck. And then also, which is what I thought of, which I think is pretty cool, are you familiar with QR codes?
Yeah.
Yep. So if you went to a restaurant during COVID, they probably have a QR code on the table. You scan it with your phone, and up pops a menu, right? Instead of them having to give you a physical menu.
Right.
So what I do is I put a QR code on the piece of equipment with certain assets attached to that QR code. So when they scan it on their phone, it pops up how to operate the pump, how to turn the truck on, how to engage the PTO, how to troubleshoot, the light switch. So now instead of them having to call over or pull up a link that they might have misplaced on the email, anybody out in the field can take their phone, scan the QR code, and be able to operate out in the field.
Wow, that's an awesome idea. I would never would
Thank
have thought of that, but yeah, just everybody's got their cell phone, and you just scan the QR code, and it takes you
Yeah,
right to the video, and boom, here's how to operate it. Wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah. I
awesome.
want My goal is to put a QR code, a Vitendo QR code, on almost every piece of equipment.
Yeah. Well, you know what? A lot of people could use it because,
Sure.
I mean, just even when you think about a health and safety issue, I mean, or equipment safety is a lot of people get injured just from not knowing how to operate the equipment and trying to figure it
Yeah.
out, or not knowing how to
Amen.
operate it properly. So if you can
Yeah.
scan it on a QR code and bring up the video, and then a guy knows how to operate it properly, you could probably avoid a lot of on the job injuries too. So,
Amen.
so
Yeah.
a lot of
And you know how
possibilities.
it is. If something is hard to attain, it won't get done. Like I learned this selling trucks. Like if you made it hard for a guy to grease his truck, like to hit his grease zerks, he won't do it. So you got to make it easy for him. And that's why I said,
Yeah.
here, take these QR codes, put them in the door jam, and say, hey, in every driver's side door jam, you're gonna see this QR code. Look at the key, like scan it, look through the videos first, then call me if you can't find the issue to your or the solution to your problem. But yeah,
Awesome, awesome. So that's I just never would have thought of that using the QR codes and stuff. So let me pop up your website here, and you can just
okay.
kind of step us through it real quick. Um, do a quick screen share, and this is your website, and maybe you can just walk us through it here.
So as you
So
see, I'm looking at the picture on the right hand side here. Those are different pieces of equipment. So we would get pictures of all the pieces of equipment you have because, of course, people want to see pictures and not just an Excel doc.
right,
So like every piece of equipment will have either operations, service, troubleshooting. If you're a dealer, even on the sales side, like how to sell a piece of equipment, and it will have those different categories. So if you were to click one of those, and we I don't have to share my screen, but if you were to click one of those, you'll see all the assets from it. But there is a search bar that you can type in, you can start to type in whatever piece of equipment you want and it'll start to auto populate. Just like if you're typing in on Auto Trader, you type in Honda, it'll give you all the Civics, Accords, CRVs, and
Right.
all that. But if you type in Honda A, it'll give you all the Accords. Same way. And yeah, that's the interface. It's optimized for mobile. You can also upload, like let's say you're XYZ municipal in your sewer department, you guys buy a line locator. If you buy one of those, you can shoot 10 videos on your own cell phone, upload them yourself. You would have to let me know to get them organized for you so you can find them easily. But other than that, you can just put them in there.
All right. And then we go down here and just some more. You got a video here.
Yep.
I
Got a
won't
90
play
second
that.
explainer video.
Okay, yeah, I won't play that because sometimes the sound doesn't come through real well on this. But and testimonial. So and then just some FAQs. All right. So simple and clean website. So it sounds like you've listened to Donald Miller, or it looks like your website is a Donald Miller, style website, but
Yeah,
simple and clean and
if
lots
it's
of opportunities.
complicated, if it's complicated, I know that I've learned that the customer tends to get analysis paralysis. So if you
Yeah,
give them too much, they're gonna go, "Oh shoot," and then just walk away. So you got to keep
yeah,
it simple. And of course, the software does a little bit more than what I explained, but I like to keep it real simple. I mean, the problem I'm trying to solve is a problem that I feel a lot of. I mean, I saw it in my industry. I see it on the municipal side. I see it in just regular heavy equipment side. I mean, I even see the pizza guy wanting to have a Vitendo, so when he hires a new high school kid, they can watch the videos instead of him having to tell them how to put the chicken bacon ranch pizza together.
yeah. I mean, this just isn't. It's like Steve said, is so many industries can benefit from this. So
Yeah,
so a lot of possibilities, and so as always, it's getting the word out. So
yeah.
and getting that
Amen.
taken care of, breaking through the noise.
Yeah.
It's what we all face, and but certainly a lot of opportunity there. And so, are you looking at expanding beyond public works? I
Um,
mean, that's
not as of yet. I want to get really good at public works and heavy equipment. Do I like treatment plants? Do I like manufacturing plants? Yes. But it has to be a big enough pain for somebody to go, huh, I actually need this and I'm willing
yeah.
to pay, almost six figures for it. It's if you have way too much turnover, it might not be a fit for you because your processes are probably not sticky enough for you to keep those employees. But if you have some turnover and your business space is really technical, then this is a good fit because you want to train those employees because you're paying a good amount for them, so you want to keep them as long as possible. But yes, eventually I want to deviate from it or also have other offerings within the same concept. But for now, public works, wastewater, treatment facilities and heavy equipment companies.
Yeah, that would probably be the low hanging fruit because that's where everybody's aging out, as we talked about, and
Yeah.
there's a real danger. I mean, it's in the water side of things, and I don't know how it is in the rest of public works, but in the water side of things, people are really worried that there's just not enough young guys coming into the business, and
Yeah.
and they're doing internships and paying people to do the internships, and
Yeah.
but as they come in, how the heck do you train them up? If
Yeah.
these guys are stepping out, and I go to some of these conferences and you look around the room and, and I'm 65 and there's got to be people in the room that are still working that are 10 years older than I am because they won't let them retire.
Yeah, I mean, on the podcast, the Public Works podcast I talk to some members who are about your age and some are older, and they say, you know what, these young kids, they're curious, they want to learn, but it's so hard to just give them everything from your brain all in one sitting, and you don't want to inundate them and overwhelm them. And then also, there's a lot of, I'm sure you've seen this in your time in the industry. A city will train up a worker, get them trained, and then they'll leave and go to the bigger city for $1 more an hour.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
and now that feeder city is left with another gap, and now they have to retrain somebody. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's one
it's a
way to get
huge
them up
issue.
to speed quicker. Yeah, we see that a lot because I work with a lot of rural water districts, and yeah, same type of thing. Um, they come in and get some experience, just enough experience to move to, get another dollar an hour. So, um,
Yeah,
so Omar says upstream surface facilities. So,
I've never heard of that, but I'll write it down for sure.
yeah. So it's so it's interesting. So when you're planning out this process, how do you really, and I'm always curious as to how you go in and you kind of, pluck it out of people's minds, because it's buried in there and they know
Yeah,
it so well that it's, coming down to a step by step is really challenging because you got to kind of
yeah.
probably pull it out of them a lot of times. So do you run into that problem is,
I,
hey, wait a minute, we need to back up because we don't have this full process outlined and so you're kind of doing the reality check, thinking from the standpoint or looking at it from the standpoint of somebody that comes in that knows nothing. So is that
yeah. It you're right. I will say that the discovery process of getting the assets on a list of what we're going to shoot is the hardest process, because I'm coming from my experience, right? And they have all this experience, but we're not in sync with each other. We don't, like, I don't know what I don't know, and they don't know what other people don't know, or the average layman doesn't know. So I say, hey, okay, we're going to focus on one piece of equipment and then one aspect. Like, let's say on the Vector truck, we're going to focus on only the water part. Like, okay, how to turn on the pump, how to plumb water from the front to the back, how to plumb water from the back to the side, how to increase the RPMs, how to increase the PSI or decrease the PSI. So you take one part of it and just break it out. And then honestly, I come into it, I try to approach everything in life with a beginner's mindset. Okay, you're going to train me on it. So I know this much, get me to this much. So now I start asking questions. Well, okay, does everybody know exactly how to engage the PTO on this? If they just hopped into a truck, no, okay, we should do a video on it. Okay, I don't know how to turn the pump on. Okay, this how you. Okay, we shoot a video on that. So me approaching it with the beginner's mind, again, like, it's a lot of work for me because I'm sitting there and I can tell they're getting frustrated because they're like, who's this guy? He doesn't know anything about what we do, but they understand the value in it, but it's just hard to get that, like, in granted, this isn't one day, I don't want to bore anybody. But if we take 2 hours, we can get a lot of assets on the list, and then come back the next day, get some more on the list, and then by 2 or 3 days, we've got about 150 200 videos we can shoot next week on and get them in their software.
yeah. Steve has a question here. Um, do you help your clients develop a curriculum, a progression of teaching, along with a check for knowledge transfer?
Good question. What he's asking is there like a path of what, like, a curriculum path of what videos or what they learn, and then a testing system with it where we can know that they actually know what they're talking about. The answer now is no. That is being worked on right now. I'm using a developer on the side, and I developed some of the front end of it. but that's really not too hard to implement. My thing is, I just wanted to make everything super, super easy to find. Is there a portion on the website that I call it Start Here? And the Start Here portion, I say you want to put a philosophy of your company or the origin of your city. If you could put their job description so they can watch a video on exactly what to do. Stuff HR stuff like how to put in for PTO, all that type of stuff, just so they can watch those videos and be trained on it. And that does have a check off aspect about it. When you watch the video, you can check it off, and that means you're done with it. But as of now, I just want to make every video really accessible and not necessarily in a workflow. I think there can be a portion of Vitendo to where, okay, if you own this piece of equipment, a new hire will watch all these videos on this piece of equipment instead of going the on demand, pick and pull kind of ad hoc route.
Vitendo 2.0, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's always evolving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Always got to be improving and adding. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'll
you,
sit up in the middle of the night and go, "Oh, I got a new idea." And granted, like there's hundreds of new ideas, but my thing is, I want to get this into at least 50 different municipals before I start trying to add stuff to it. Because I can develop all day, every day, and then nobody would actually get value from it because I haven't sold it to anybody.
yeah,
I'd rather
yeah.
get this in people's hands, get them to love it, and they go, "Hey, look what else I made for you."
Yeah. Gotta have something of a roadmap. You can't do it all at once. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just part of it. So, yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I can do all these things, but man, you got to get this done first, and then get
yeah,
that down, and
yeah.
service the clients. So good. So, anything else you want to tell us about Vitendo before we move on to the Public Works podcast that I want to
Nope. In
talk to you
regards
about
to
that briefly?
Vitendo, if I I do a lot of outreach on LinkedIn. I always say if you want a demo, just say, or in my pitch, to get a demo, I just say send me a 90-second demo. And what I do is I create an actual personalized demo for whatever type of business or department or a municipal or utility you're in. So if you're in water, if you're in wastewater, if you're in storm, if you're in streets, if you're in groundwater, I can make a personalized video for you exactly how Vitendo can help in 90 seconds. So you can watch that. And then the next step will be to hop on a phone call. And then after that, we start getting some discovery assets going. And then after that, we're shooting.
Okay, I'll have your contact information. I'll pop up here in a little bit at the end so that
Nice.
people can get a hold of you different ways. So that's good to know. All right, so we kind of originally met because I came on your podcast,
Oh, yeah.
so I wanted to ask you a little bit about that because if you're out there interviewing people in the public works business, it's you're getting some insights, I think, because
Oh, yeah.
I do the same thing here. So what kind of trends are you really seeing out there
Oh,
on in the public works business?
so you're right. The reason why I started the podcast was to be able to learn and keep up with what's going on currently. One of the questions that I ask everybody on the show, and I ask you also, is what personal development activity or regimen do you have that keeps you up with the times? And I'm learning that a lot of my interviewees, they go to these conferences, they subscribe to these newsletters, they listen to the podcast of what else is going on. And I could tell people in our industries, we're curious. We want to keep learning about how to skin the cat a little bit more efficiently. Um, and in regards to that, I'm learning that the information being put on is from what do you call it, the silver wave.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the silver wave who's leaving teaching the silver wave who's about to leave. And I'm not saying that we need to change who's putting out the information, but we need to be more cautious of or cater a little bit more to who's entering the industry. And like you said, video. I mean, millennials and Gen Zers, we watch video. We rather watch it on our phone than stand in the middle of the parking lot and listen to a guy drone on for 30 minutes about war stories. Oh, so there's a sense of, okay, we're all getting the good information or new information, but who is it actually attached to? And then also, like we talked before, there's a lot of people about to retire. So, I mean, a lot of people in the National Rural Water Association used to work for a water department. They were in business or working for a municipal, and then they retired and they say, let me go help out with rural water. So I'm learning a lot of retirees are getting back into the workforce. I don't know if it's boredom or money or who knows, but there's kind of a cycle being done at that back end, and we need that cycle to kind of refresh that front end. Just and honestly, like the Public Works podcast, I want to make it exciting or make it fun for a Gen Z or a millennial to listen to it and go, huh, I want to get in that industry.
Yeah, and that's good. Is attracting people in. That's part of
Yeah.
the internship initiative that National Rural Water is the driving force behind that. Then different state rural water associations kind of carry the ball on that. So I do a lot of work with California Rural Water Association. I know they've been really big on that internship program, but
Yeah.
it's the knowledge transfer that is challenging,
It's
and
tough.
that is where you really bridge the gap. So it's
Thanks.
but it's interesting that you're not only doing Vitendo solutions, but you're doing the Public Works podcast and kind of tying that together because now you're talking to people and seeing the trends out there, and that gives you greater insight into how you can go in and document their processes.
Yeah, sure. That I mean the podcast. Imagine me trying to walk into the city of Los Angeles and say, "Hey, I got this cool new software. It solves this problem." They'll say, "Well, dude, there's 30,000 people who have a cool new software and they're trying to solve a problem." Um, but if I can interview them on the podcast, make them look cool, allow them to talk about what they want to talk about and highlight what they're good at, it kind of makes that relationship a little bit smoother. Like now there's a altruistic, reciprocity aspect about it, to where they say, "Hey, what do you do? What's your full time gig? What else like, do you have to offer?" And then I can tell them about Vitendo. So I don't sell on the podcast. I don't pitch, like I didn't pitch you. I don't pitch anybody about my service, but the podcast allows me to talk to the people who I will want to develop a relationship with in the future, and then allows me to stay close to the industry because I mean, think about it. I mean, I'd rather watch NBA all night than than listen to public work stuff. But it forces me to keep sharp on what's going on in the industry and how the people are thinking about it and what's going on.
And that gives you really a leg up in what's going on in the business. Is if you're staying up on things, then you're going to be ahead of 95% of the people out
Mm,
there because most people just do what they need to do to stay abreast of things. So Omar has a question. Um, let me pop that up there. So he's asking, hold on a minute. Oh, there we go. What are the main issues and problems in the groundwater sector that you see?
that sounds like it's for you. You're the
Yeah,
groundwater guy.
yeah, I see a lot of well, I mainly deal with groundwater and wells, and the big issue, and my niche really, and you and I have talked about that, is dealing with well diagnostics because people spend $1 million to put in a water well and then they ignore it, and it
Yep.
it plugs up and it becomes an emergency to repair it
Yeah.
and so it's the big thing is I see is lack of maintenance, and that comes down to really the umbrella of inadequate asset management, especially
Mm,
for small water districts. They don't feel like they have the capabilities to do proper asset management, but you can really simplify that and and make it relatively easy for these guys, and so it can be done, and so part of our training is teaching them how to do that. We focus on the groundwater issues and the wells, but
yeah.
the overarching umbrella of issues out there have to do with not managing your assets properly, not replacing things when they need to be replaced,
Yeah.
not keeping a proper maintenance schedule, and ignoring your wells. Wells are like a car; they need to have cars need the oil changed. Wells need to be rehabbed on a regular basis, and to keep them operating efficiently. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
I see.
I I did an interview with I forgot where they're out of, but another rural water association member, and he said that he went to or they were going to council to try to get X amount of mile of pipe redone. It's just aging infrastructure. I'm sure you're seeing this a lot. Also,
Mhm.
stuff is just getting old. It's time to replace it. And he said the response they got from council was that the new community center gym they needed to build a new community center gym because that's what the people wanted. And he was thinking like, oh, yeah, of course they're going to not buy votes, but they want to get reelected and they want to give the people the feel good in the community center and the kids can go and play. It's because people can't see what's underground. They can't see the aging infrastructure, so they don't flow money to it. It's easy to put money behind something you can see and it pops up. You have a ribbon cutting and a grand opening, but who wants to? I mean, who wants to get excited about replacing half a mile of pipe?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know,
Until you turn on your tap and there's no water, then everybody's interested.
exactly. You get a boil notice. Yeah.
Yeah, you get a boil water notice. Yeah, that too. Or you turn on your tap and black goop comes out. I mean, that's
Oof.
yeah. so,
No
so
bueno.
yeah, that's yeah. Then people all of a sudden are interested. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and that's education too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's boring stuff. Replacing pipelines like you say, but it's necessary. But that's where having a good asset management and asset management program and a capital improvement program really comes in, because now you're setting money aside to do that, and you're applying for the grants you need to, and that's part of it. So I think that's you know from my perspective, that's what I see in the water industry. So
Yeah.
okay, Omar's got some probably more for my my end of things, but um, we see both, Omar. We see both the open hole and cased holes. It just depends. If you're in fractured rock environment, it's usually going to be an open hole. When you get out in an alluvial environment, out in the valleys, like in California, then you're going to have a cased and screened gravel packed well. So we, it just depends on the geologic environment usually. So that's the short answer to that. Um, as always, there's a longer answer and there's a short answer. So I'll give you the
For
short answer. So,
everything.
so, so, what other trends do you see in the business? I mean, did you have any favorite stories you've gotten from the Public Works podcast, or from your training, or just your experience in Public Works? Selling to Public Works. So
Um, I electric is going to be big. Once the manufacturers can get electric, down to a manageable enough price point, you're going to see a heavy adoption, especially the coastal states. Like I used to live in California, and they're pushing everything to go green. So we're going to see a huge influx of that. Um, I, I got a statistic from a lady. She said 50% of the workforce in public works is going to retire in the next 5 to 7 years. I mean, that's a huge exodus. That is the
wow.
the silver tsunami, or sorry, the silver wave. Um,
So, silver tsunami. Yeah, in that case.
yeah. There's going to be a lot of people leaving. When you spoke on the internship program, or the internship or apprenticeship program,
Yeah.
and there's a lady in North Carolina that is heading that up, and she's saying there's there has to be a better way for us to market to them, to tell them it's not just a job that they fall back on. Just because you couldn't get into college, you couldn't, go to the professional sports or whatever. It's not a job that is is low, or kind of frowned upon. We need to make it cool again. We need to make it sexy again, to where, yeah, working for the city, you were top stuff back in the 70s, maybe even the 80s. But now it's kind of has that stench with it. No pun intended, but yeah, there has to be a better way for us to market to them. And I'm seeing certain associations getting good at that, whether they're paying for the training or they're kind of doing an apprenticeship through high school to get them pipelined into it. But yeah, that's one of my concerns is that backfilling that huge silver wave that's leaving.
Yeah, it really is, and 50%, that's a big number. So
Yeah,
yeah, so where how do you replace that? And getting young guys to come in, to
yeah.
do that. But I'm kind of a fan, even though even though I got, a master's degree and everything, I'm kind of a fan of not everybody has to go to college, and trade
Oh,
school is just fine, and you can make, in the trades, you can make as good a money or better than you can coming fresh out of college, and you get a head start, from doing 8 years of college. You go and get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and everything, and then you come out and you're starting at the bottom of the totem pole, and working your way up, and the people that have gone to a 2-year trade school now have that leg up on you, and they're
yeah,
out there earning a living and buying a house, and
yeah, yeah.
so uh,
I went to college. I graduated, got a finance degree. Am I working in finance now? No. um, I, I,
yeah,
I I do see. So you're talking about trades. I see it as more just specifying in something because college just gives you a general education. I mean, whatever you major in, any job type will pretty much take it if you whatever you major. Just 'cause it's kind of like a box you check off. So specifying, there's a lady up in northern Arizona. I interviewed her on the show, and she spoke about freelance operators. So whenever I hear freelance, I'm thinking, okay, what is this? Because I know what a freelance videographer is. I used to do that back in the day. I know what a freelance writer is. You write articles for other people's websites, and so a freelance operator, like a treatment plant operator, they go from treatment plant to treatment plant to treatment plant, and they specify in certain things. They create their own hours. They're a 1099, so they don't have to worry about the W-2 and putting in for off sick days and stuff like that. So that, I mean, for a millennial or Gen Zer, that's attractive because I can work 3, 4 days a week, still make good money, still have my time, make my own schedule, and then I can specify exactly what I want to learn. I don't have to learn about everything. I can learn about a small portion of what I want to get great at, specifying that, get paid for that, and then be able to make my own schedule. And I that's really attractive. I think when you tell a kid, okay, we're going to put you on a 980 schedule, they're thinking, okay, I got to work from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. 4 or 5 days a week, and I get X amount of time, and in 30 years I'll have a huge, retirement pension. It's not attractive. I mean, younger kids, we want to know that, okay, every 8, 9 months, we want to be able to take 3 weeks off or a month off and go travel in Europe and get new life experiences. If we have children, like I want to have time off with my child. I want to be able to do that and not worry about my job. So I think that the more we get into the specified knowledge or even traits, like you were saying, the trade school, you can create and kind of cherry pick your career to where it makes sense for you.
absolutely. So, well, good. Thanks for that insight. Let me, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Sure.
We've gone 45 minutes now, so
Oh
I,
wow.
I always say that, I always try to keep this to half an hour, and it never works. So,
Nah.
I don't think I've ever done one for half an hour, but
Stuff.
because we get to chatting, and you got some interesting stuff to say, but you probably need to get back on things. Let me pop up your contact information here. So there it is. Your website, your email, your phone number, your LinkedIn, and it's um, what is your preferred method of, you want people to check out your website, but what's the preferred method to get a hold of you, through your website?
I would say shoot me an email, and just tell me what you want. I mean, even if you're not looking to buy now, just say, "Hey, Joseph, send me a 90-second demo. I do this, or I sell this, or I'm a part of this," and I can make you a quick demo and we can keep the conversation going. And then also, if you're in the industry, reach out to me through email and say, hey, I want to be featured on the Public Works podcast. I'll get you on there. You get to sing your song, tell your story, and we highlight you and your business, whatever you do. Yeah, so shoot me an email or go to the website, and also you can find the email on there and reach out. Let's chat, and I'll flow you some energy and some followers, and likewise.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's kind of how we connected up, and
Yeah,
I'm glad we did. We've had a couple interesting conversations, one in your show and one here today.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
appreciate it, and some good information. I mean, it's amazing to me. You get out and you start talking to people, and the information that you get is just, amazing to
It
me.
it it's crazy. I mean, God put us on this earth to commune with others, to talk to other people, and to not be in a hole. Like, I get it. Sometimes when I'm developing, I'm in the room and it's all dark, and I'm like all by myself, and I'm trying to figure out how to, make this one thing turn from blue to red. Like, I get it, but the value comes in being able to go out, talk to people, learn from people. Because if I learn XYZ from you, I can apply that to my day tomorrow, and then I can begin again a little bit smarter. So yeah, I always say the people who are who are done learning, they're done. Like, they're done. You always have to keep evolving, stay curious, begin with the beginner, or do everything with the beginner's mindset. And then, yeah, people are out there and people just want to help. People just want, I
Yeah.
mean, you'd be surprised how many people I communicate with, or reach out to, and they just want to share knowledge and help out. I mean, not everybody's a bad person like you see on TV.
Yeah, well, TV is not reality. And
Yeah.
I like to say that you're either learning or you're moving backwards. So there's no
Mm,
static. So
yeah.
if you're not increasing your knowledge in today's world, then you're moving backwards. And so
Yeah.
you got to keep learning, and it's a lifelong thing. I mean, like I say, I'm
Yeah.
65 and I'm still learning stuff every day from guys like
Yeah.
you and everybody I talk to, and it is it's really a joy. It keeps your mind working, and really helps your clients, my clients, because we're staying current on things, and we're offering things that the cutting edge stuff, by getting out there and ferreting out that knowledge. So you bring up some really good points there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Joseph, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And once again, here's your contact information. So I would really urge people to get a hold of you. Boy, it sounds like you provide some great services, and I know a lot of people out there. I'll be passing your name around because I know there's
Thank
people
you.
out there that
Thank
would
you.
benefit from your services. So you have a great day, and
Thank
we'll
you.
we'll be talking. We got some other stuff to talk about, so we'll be talking offline here. So.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, everybody who's watching, if you have the best way to cook a steak, because I usually do 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes. So if you have a better way to cook a steak, please shoot me an email and let me know. I always like to ask that. If you have a better way to cook a steak, your technique, please shoot me an email. Let's start the conversation. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. My steak is my technique is you kind of wave it over the grill and it's done.
It moves when you stick into
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much, Joseph. I appreciate you coming on.
Sure thing. Thank you.
We'll be talking.
All right.
All right. So thanks so much for Joseph for coming on and sharing his insights with us. That was really instructive, and I love his process, and applying the QR code so you can just pop up the video on that piece of equipment. So I see great success for him out there, and I would urge everybody to get a hold of him. We did have his contact information up there, and you can look at that, and I'll post it up in the show notes too. So, all right. So as we wrap things up here, I just wanted to say we do have a free resource for you out there, the well health check process for diagnosing well problems. And Omar, if you're still on, you can get a hold of me, and I'll talk to you more about wells. My last two shows were actually about locating wells, and so there's some good information there for you if you're still on here. So I appreciate you popping in the comments, and but this is actually, if you got problem wells, then this guide will help walk you through that. We got here's the link to download that. It's kind of a long link, but speaking of QR codes, you can actually just scan this QR code, and that'll take you there too. So feel free to download that link and give me any comments. Shoot me comments. You can reach me. Here's my contact, my email. You can contact me there. And if you got any comments on the resource guide or any ideas for shows in the future, just let me know. And I'm more than happy to listen to you, or any problems, or anything you want to know about. Let me know, because like we talked about earlier, I'm curious about what's going on, and constantly learning a lot from you guys. So, and problem solving starts with asking the right questions, is really what it comes down to, and getting that dialogue going. So, um, here's where we're at. We stream every Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Central, on the Groundwater Guy YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. It actually looked like LinkedIn didn't flake out on me today, and worked. So that's cool. Um, LinkedIn can be kind of flaky sometimes. So I always give people the YouTube as a backup. I haven't had any problems with that. Knock on wood. Um, if you want to be a guest on Groundwater Talk Live, here is the link for that. You can come on, and if you got something to share with people in the water industry of general interest, or anything specific, then sign up to be a guest, and we'd love to have you on the show, and share your information with people in the water industry. All right. With that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Groundwater Guy YouTube channel. We post our episodes up there. They're all there. We got some interesting stuff. You can go back and look at the past ones. And if you really want to know when we post a new one up, it's every Thursday. But if you want to know when we post a new one up, then hit the bell, and that'll alert you when we post up a new YouTube video. So thanks so much for watching. We will see you next